Hey guys, we'll get started in a couple minutes. Thanks for joining me. Have you guys had a good day? Hopefully you can hear me. You're probably just getting your last snacks. I feel ya. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started. It is 8 o'clock. Hopefully you can both hear me. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Would you guys type in the box if you can hear me? Awesome, perfect. Thanks, Eduardo. All right, friends. Can you believe we are in Unit 7? It's crazy. We're almost done. Eduardo is actually in my class and he is like totally done with the class just with these last couple RLCs and the final. So let's go ahead and get started. Talk about the things we're going to look at today. We're going to talk about the weather, using hacer with weather. We're going to talk about artículos de baño. We're going to talk, and those are things in the bathroom. Where did you come from and what did you just do? Talk about ropa, what we wear, the numbers 0 to 1,000, or 100 to 1,000. We're going to talk about dinero, how much money you have left and how much you're missing, and we're going to talk about some frases idiomáticas con tener. All right, so first is the weather. So we have some pictures of weather here. If you were looking at this first one, would you guys say this is hace frío or hace calor? This first picture here with the snow on it. Hace frío or hace calor? If you'll just type in chat. Yeah, frío. And frío kind of looks like our word frigid, right? And even if you get it after Teddy, just go ahead and type it in. Then you get the practice too. So frío has an X mark on the I, right? And so we have that there. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us. So frío looks like frigid. So that's that first one, hace frío. And our second one, hace calor. What word in English starts with calor? C-A-L-O-R. What word starts with that? That may mean something that looks like the second temperature thing here. What do you guys think? Any word in English that comes to mind when you think about the word calor and something burning? A lot of people want to burn these when they're trying to lose weight. Calories, that's the same Latin root, calor. Calor means hot, right? So hace calor, if we say hace, it is hot. Hace doesn't normally translate to it is, but it does for us in this occasion, right? The second set here, there's the sun and there is something falling over. Which one of these, number one, the sun, number two, this thing being blown over, which one of these do you think is hace sol? Hace sol. Number one or number two? Yeah, number one is hace sol. How could you tell that it's hace sol? What does that word sol remind you of in English? What does that word sol? Yeah, it reminds you of sun. What's a word in English though that kind of starts with L, S-O-L, that starts with, or that relates to the sun? Anybody know? Logan or Chris? Yeah, but it actually the English word starts with S-O-L, and then there are two more letters, but it relates to the sun. Some people have these panels on their house. Yeah, solar, right? So that same kind of, just trying to get you to make the connections with the Latin roots of those words. Solar, right? Solar with the sun. All right, and this next one is going to be hace viento. I always think of like a vent in my car and it's kind of windy, right? Hace viento. So we have that kind of happening there. All right, our next one, we have two different types of weather. Hace buen tiempo. And we have hace mal tiempo. And so those are really easy, right? Buen is good and mal is bad, right? And then we have another one here, está despejado. Maybe you've heard this word before, maybe you haven't. Despejado means it's clear outside. Down here at the bottom, we have a few words that don't use hace or está. We have this first one, which is nieva. That means it's snowing. And then llueve, that means it is raining. And then we have some more words, but one we're going to learn is nublado. Está nublado. It is cloudy. All right, so here we have our words, and some of them use hace, some of them like llueve and nieva don't have anything at all. And then we have a few that use está nublado and está despejado. As we click through these. And now we have our pictures. Hace frío, hace calor, hace sol, hace viento, hace mal tiempo, hace buen tiempo, nieva, llueve, está nublado. All right. So hace, we're using it with Western expressions. It's a unique form of hacer, which doesn't mean to do or to make. Normally it means to do or to make, but with weather expressions, it has no like literal English translation, but what we would say would be it's sunny, it's windy, it's hot. So be careful, it isn't used with every weather expression, right? So if we had to put here blank sol, what would you guys add in there? Would you put hace, está, or nada? Type it in the chat. Hace. Okay, yeah, great job, Chris. All right, what's our second one? Despejado. Would you put hace, está, or nada? Está, that's right, great job. What about llueve? Llueve. Llueve, llueve, or llueve if you're from Argentina. It's close. Yeah, you got it. Nada, right? Nada. Hace frío. I'm just going to go fast here because I have a lot to cover, but just knowing that there's a different thing that goes with some things. Most of them are hace, but there are those 4 exceptions that we have in our vocabulary. En el norte, en el oeste, en el este, en el sur, we have these direction points that are really good things to know. So en el norte hace frío, en el sur hace calor. So we can use those when we're talking about it. We can also talk about those seasons, right? So in el verano hace calor o hace frío. If you probably said hace calor, right? Because in most places in the summer, it's going to be hot, right? Depending on where you are, of course, that could change. So we might say sentences like this. En el otoño hace viento y está despejado. So we could use those to make our sentences about the weather. When it's hot, I go here. When it's snowing, I do this. When it's raining, I listen to music in my house, right? Or when it is cold, I play on the computer. So you can also make sentences with when it is. When you're talking about the temperature is at a certain degree. You can use this phrase, la temperatura está a, and then if you wanted to say 20 grados. I also found this great, oh, I don't want to stop my share. I want to stop my presentation. All right, so hopefully you can hear my screen. So a trick to figure out the temperature in Celsius. Do you guys know about Celsius and Fahrenheit? Do you feel good about being able to change those 2 things? So if you're going from Celsius, you're going to times it by 2 and add 30. So if it's 10 degrees Celsius, we are multiplying that by 2. So that's going to be 20, and then we're going to add 30 to that, and that's going to be approximately 50 degrees Fahrenheit. 17, we're going to multiply that by 2, right? And then we're going to add 30, we get around 64. So the same happens when we do Fahrenheit to Celsius. We could subtract 30 from the Fahrenheit and divide by 2, and then we get approximately 35, right? So if we're subtracting that 70 divided by 2 is 35 there. So if we have 72, same concept, getting there from 21. I just really like that tip because sometimes, especially when I went to Spain, I was like, oh my gosh, it's 38 degrees. I have no idea what that means. I know it's hot, right? But I didn't know exactly how to get there. So I really like that trick. I'll put that link in I'll find the link for us later. I'm gonna put it in there for us. All right, so if we talk about artículos del baño, the things that are in the bathroom, what is there in the bathroom and what do you need in the bathroom? Right here, this first one. In el baño, in the bathroom, there is a cepillo. A cepillo is a brush, right? Acabo de comprar. Does anybody know what acabo de means in Spanish? If I say acabo de hablar, what would that mean? Acabo de hablar. Yeah, who finished, Chris? Who did the finishing? What if I change it to acabamos? If I say acabo, that's the yo form, right? In the present tense, but it means something in the past tense, right? Like I just finished talking, acabo de hablar, or acabamos, we just finished talking. So here I'm saying, I just bought a toothbrush, acabo de comprar. I'm using that infinitive form with acabo there to mean I just did it. All right. Vengo de la farmacia. I'm coming from the pharmacy. Acabo de comprar el jabón. I just bought some soap. So you can use this in your writing. You guys have learned this one before, but it's a good one to review. Tengo que, I have to use the comb. Tengo ganas de, that same kind of phrase. I have a desire to buy a hairdryer. maybe you don't. I need to buy some lotion para mis manos. Necesito, I need, comprar, we don't conjugate that one. I need to buy, we don't conjugate it in English either. La loción para mis manos. Los sellos are stamps. These are all vocabulary words. And then we get to ropa. So these are different types of ropa. And if we want to talk about them, wearing them, we're going to use this verb llevar. So to change llevar, we're going to put it in these forms. Yo llevo is what you're mostly going to be talking about because you're going to be talking about what you're wearing. But if you're talking about other people, you can say ella lleva, él lleva, or we are wearing, llevamos. Llevamos chaquetas porque hace frío, or llevamos chamarras, depending on where you are. You're going to use those different words for jacket. Llevan there. And so those are the different forms of the verb llevar. If you're talking about what you're wearing right now, can everybody write a sentence about what you're wearing right now? Yo llevo una sudadera negra. Yo llevo una sudadera negra. Can you guys write a sentence about something you're wearing right now? Llevo un jacket. Jacket in Spanish is going to be, if you're in Spain, you can say chaqueta. If you're in Mexico, they use chamarra, maybe different words. Suéter. That's great. No worries. Suéter. Great job. He is wearing a camisa anaranjada, a shirt that's orange, right? We put the orange after the word shirt. Llevan camisetas. They're wearing t-shirts. Llevamos los pantalones blancos. We are wearing white pants. Are you wearing socks? Llevas calcetines? That's what my dad would always ask me if it's cold inside, right? You got socks on? Llevas los calcetines. All right. So we also, like we just talked about, grados centigrados versus grados Fahrenheit. In Spanish, most Spanish-speaking countries are going to use grados centigrados. Depending on if you're close to the border in Texas, they might use Fahrenheit, just depending on where you're at. Tener. Tengo frío. We don't say I am cold in Spanish. We say I have cold. Tengo frío. I'm not, you don't say I'm hot. You say I have heat. Tengo calor. And those are the two phrases, just like tener que, right? To have to. Tener ganas de. And now we have two more to add. Tengo frío or tener frío and tengo calor. There. All right. So if we think about numbers, if we're just saying the word 100, we're going to say cien. If we're saying anything over 100, we're going to say ciento. Like if I say 101, that's 101. I don't just say 101. So I put a ciento and then I add uno. Doscientos. Sometimes this can change to doscientas if we're describing something feminine. Trescientos, same thing. Tres, and then we add cientos. It's pretty easy, right? Cuatrocientos. This one's a little weird. Instead of cincomientos, we say quinientos, like quinto. Seiscientos, easy. Setecientos, a little bit harder because we don't have that I in there. Ochocientos, easy. Novecientos, a little bit different than nueve, but you can still recognize it. And then we have mil. Mil is 100, 1,000. So if we say cien or ciento, doscientos, trescientos, cuatrocientos, quinientos, seiscientos, setecientos, ochocientos, novecientos, and mil. All right. If we're going to say 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? We're going to say 1,000 first, mil. Then we're going to say 490, 90 y. Then we're going to say dos. All right. So I want you guys to try to say 1999 in Spanish. Tonight we're going to party like it's 1999. $19.99. How do we say 1,000? Got it. 1999. That's right. We just need an O on the end of that. And no, 900 is a little spell right there, but that's okay. Don't worry. You did it real fast. 900. So if you were a kid born in the 90s or born in the 70s like me, I was born in 1979. You have a lot to say. You have to say 1979. But if you're a kid born in 2006, you got an easy life. All you have to do is say 2000 and then 6, right? So when were you guys born? Okay, super close to 2006. What about you, Eduardo? 2005. Very cool. So you're going to say 2000 and then you're going to say the number. You guys are pros at that. If we were talking about Hernán Cortés, right? And we want to say the year he was born was 1485. So we just add that E right before the end. Unlike the time, right? When we do the time, we add an and right after the hours. So we say 2:35. But we're just saying a number, we're just going to put that and right at the end there. Ponce de León, just some good practice there for you. So if you want to say I was born, we're kind of getting into a little bit of past tense here. Yo nací en el año 1990 y whatever. ¿En qué año nació tu madre? When was your mom born? When was your dad born? My dad was born in 1900, whatever, 1900 your dad was born in. All right, so this is our chapter about shopping. So no shopping chapter is complete without using this verb costar. Costar, do you guys know what costar means? Yeah, to cost, right? We always hope it costs less, right? But if we're asking a question, we're going to say cuánto cuesta or cuánto cuestan if we're asking those questions. How much does it cost? How much do they cost? Cuánto cuesta, cuánto cuestan. If we want to talk about something costing 514 colones, we would say cuesta 514 colones. How much is 514 colones? Can you guys do a quick little search and tell me how much 514 colones is? Colones are Costa Rican money. So how much? Yeah, isn't it interesting? 514 of something really is just 80 cents, right? So if it costs 675, we can assume that's just going to be a little bit more, right? 675. So we have to use big numbers when we're talking about money in Costa Rica. That's why it's good to learn these bigger numbers when you go to a Spanish-speaking country. So you can kind of think about like, I just missed it. This one, you know, kind of being around, if 500 is 80, so this is probably going to be around 60 cents. So kind of getting half of something that you already know is going to help you figure out things like that. So you guys have been learning verbs that work like gustar, right? You learned like interesar, aburrir, importar, disgustar. Those work differently than normal verbs, right? We don't normally say intereso or aburro. in that context, me aburro. We're going to say me aburre or me aburren. These work that same way. So when we're talking about verbs like gustar, right? If we conjugated it, we don't normally say gusto, me gusto, right? What do we say? If I want to say I like something, what do I say? Me gusta. Or if it's something that's plural nouns, right? Not plural verbs, but if it's plural nouns, I'm going to say me gustan. Because I'm going to say, me gustan los perros. Dogs are pleasing to me, essentially. So these three verbs work similarly to those verbs, right? Instead of saying me falto, right, $1, me falta $1. I'm lacking $1, or me faltan $3. Dólares, not dolores. $3. I am lacking $3. Me queda $1. I am left over, or I have $1 left over is what I would say. Me quedan 300 colones. I have 300 colones left over. So quedar and sobrar mean the same thing. Faltar means you're lacking it. Quedar and sobrar mean you have it left over. So no sobran, these things are left over to us. Normally, when we're talking about things, we're probably going to use the plural form of it because we're normally talking about more than one. Unless you're just talking about $1 or 1 cent, in which case you would say me falta. But most of the time, you're going to say me faltan, me quedan, no sobran, me sobran. There, and you're going to use those to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to we, which are called indirect object pronouns. So if I said les sobran, that would mean to them, essentially, they have this left over. Hopefully that makes sense. So if I said me quedan 876, that would mean I have 876 left over. Me faltan, I'm lacking 411. So one of your writing things in this lesson talks about what you have left over or what you're lacking. So the same kind of concept that I use with me gusta, you're going to be using with these three verbs. So hopefully that makes sense. We have different types of dinero, right? Colon and colones, those are from Costa Rica. Dólar and dólares, those are from the United States. Centavos, we both have centavos. Centavos are cents, right? And then euro and euros, we have those in Europe. All right, so tonight we've talked about artículos de baño, la ropa, el tiempo, los números 100 a, we can even go to 100,000 if you want to now, el dinero, hace with el tiempo, and then frases idiomáticas con tener. I think there was one more thing I wanted to show you. Oh yeah, if you're ever like, hey, I don't remember how to say a number, you just Google that number and then it will actually just help you find it. So I just put 435 in Spanish. And if you're just like, wow, I really don't know how to say that, or I need some help remembering that. If I wanted to say let's just say that, right? Oh, maybe not, it's too big. Let's do, there we go. Maybe it doesn't go up to a certain time, but 40,035 in Russian and in German. So maybe we have to do a little bit more searching, but the really nice thing is up to a certain point, numbers are really easy to find in Spanish. There we go. So 4,035, 4,035. And one other last thing to point out about numbers in Spanish, instead of saying, if I put this in Spanish, what does that mean? What number is that? And what number is that? Not all things are as they seem. 4,02. 4,02. That's 4 point. We would say 4.2 or 4.002. even though there's a comma in Spanish, a lot of countries, maybe not Mexico sometimes because they are really influenced by us, but a lot of countries are going to say 4.02 like this, or they're going to say 4,000 like this. So it can get a little bit confusing with your English brain because you're like, wait a minute, that's 4.000. No, it's really 4,000. So instead of using a comma where we would say this is 4,000, they would use a period. And instead of using a point, or like we would say 4.02, this would be 4,02. And if we say punto, that's what we would normally use as a comma, and coma is that word for coma. Okay. Hopefully I didn't confuse you too much, but do you guys have any questions? Again, studyspanish.com is a really great website if you have questions, you want to review grammar. You guys are almost done with the course, which is crazy to me. But if you guys have anything to share, I would love to hear it, or you have anything you want to ask about. It's a quick day because chapter 7 or unit 7 is very short, which is kind of exciting. You just have 3 lessons. Do you guys have anything that you want to ask about? If not, then we're going to get out of here early tonight, and I hope you have a beautiful one. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so Chris, do you know how to watch the archive? I can show you how to do that. Okay, so when you go to your room, right? So here we are in our Zoom room. Up here at the top, there's this thing called cloud recordings, and we just click on cloud recordings, and you're gonna search for topic, and you can put in just the word April here if you want to watch my class. If you want to watch somebody else's class, you can. Oh, sorry. My session was expired. And then you go to cloud recordings. You can go here to topic, type in April, type in whatever name you want. You'll find that my last class was October 31st. And so you'll click on that 2 files over here, and then this is the recording. So if you click on that recording, it'll take you to that. Do you want me to walk through that one more time, or does that feel pretty good? Okay, sweet. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so glad you're back. You're awesome. All right, Eduardo, Logan, Chris again, anything for the good of the group? If not, you guys are free to go, and I hope you have a beautiful night. Eduardo, you're like done, man. We're gonna take your final. Thanks, Chris. Have a great night. Good night, Logan.